Choosing a name for your brand, wow, it can feel like you're naming a child, right? The stakes are just so high, and you know the wrong choice could follow you around for years. But what if there was a simple, clear way to test your name's strength? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do right here. Let's get into it. So right off the bat, you have to ask yourself this. Is your potential brand name an asset, or is it an anchor? Think about it. An asset is a name that actively works for you. It tells a story, it's easy to remember, it helps you grow. But an anchor? An anchor just weighs you down. It's confusing, it's kind of generic, or it's so specific, it traps you. It forces you to spend all your energy just explaining what it is you even do. To figure out which one you've got, we're going to run your name through a tough 3-part gauntlet. First, we'll look at the foundation, to make sure it's got a soul. Then we're on to the reality check to see if it can actually survive out in the wild. And finally, we'll play the long game to make sure this name is built to last. Okay, first up, Act I, the foundation. This is all about identity and relevance. Before we even start worrying about domain names or what the competition is doing, we have to answer a really fundamental question. Does this name actually have a soul? Does it have a clear purpose?
This really breaks down into 2 super important steps. Step 1 is you have to define its core identity, what it means to you, to your company. But honestly, that's only half the battle. Step 2 is making sure it has market relevance, that it actually means something to your customers.
So let's dig into that core identity. You've got to ask, what's the real story here? What's the meaning behind this name? Is it just some cool-sounding word you found, or does it genuinely connect back to your brand's values? And maybe most important of all, does it feel authentic? Because trust me, your audience can spot a fake a mile away. And now for market relevance. See, even if a name is super meaningful to you, it's a total fail if it doesn't work for your customer. Can they say it? Can they spell it? Can they even remember it an hour later? Does it make them feel something? If your name is basically an inside joke that your audience isn't in on, it's just not going to work. This slide just nails the difference, doesn't it? A name like Stripe is a perfect asset. It's short, it's sharp, it brings up images of swiping a card or clean lines of data. Our brains process it instantly, which makes it feel trustworthy. Now compare that to an anchor like Viridian Dynamics. It's so vague and corporate, it makes your brain work overtime for zero reward. It communicates absolutely nothing. Okay, so your name has a soul and it connects with your audience. That's fantastic. But hold on, because now comes Act 2, the reality check. This is where we take that brilliant name out of the lab and see if it can actually survive out there in the real world. First thing you have to do is benchmark it against your competition. Seriously, put your name right next to theirs. Does it pop? Or does it kind of blend in, sounding like a knockoff? You have to be honest about the risk of confusion. If a customer is searching for you and could easily land on your competitor's site by mistake, well, you've got a huge problem. Next up, the brass tacks. And let's be clear, this stuff is completely non-negotiable. Is the .com domain name available? Can you legally get a trademark to protect it? And are the social media handles free? If the answer to any of these is no, you have to be real with yourself. You don't actually own the name. Period. All right, you made it through the reality check. Now for the final act, the long game. This is all about making sure your name isn't just good for launch day, but for the entire life of your brand. Is it truly, really built to last? I want you to think about the future, seriously. Will this name still make sense when you've expanded your product line 5 years from now? What happens when you go global and you're in 5 different countries? A name that's too narrow can become a cage that limits your growth. What you want is a name that can grow and evolve right along with your vision. And before you sign that paperwork, before you even think about printing business cards, there is one last absolutely crucial step you cannot skip. And that is validation. You have to take this name out of the boardroom and test it with real people who have zero personal stake in it. So who should you be listening to? Well, your potential customers are, by far, the most important voice here. What's their gut reaction? What do they think your company does based on the name alone? Their perception, that's your reality. Sure, your internal team's feedback is valuable, but it should never, ever outweigh what your customers are telling you. Which brings us all the way here to the ultimate summary question. This is the final litmus test that pulls everything we've just talked about together. Does this name authentically represent what you do? And, this is the key part, does it set you up for long-term success? It's a simple question, but man, it is packed with everything that matters. Look, in the end, your brand name is so much more than just a label. It's the title of your story. It is the very first word your customers will ever read about you. So, after running it through this entire gauntlet, the final question is pretty simple. What story do you want it to tell?